Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Cloudy with a Chance of Therapy. My name's Justin,
I'm Kristen.
and so glad for everybody to have joined us today. I know our upload schedule's been a little weird of late. We've had stuff going on. I do apologize.
We had some editing issues with the last episode. I tried to upload it, and Spotify didn't recognize it as a file. And
Yeah, we have a bunch of editing issues, just other stuff going on in our lives. So I apologize. We're going to work on getting a buffer up so that we miss that less often. Um, so, how's you been?
well, that's a loaded question. I feel like I say that every episode.
Yeah. The
Um,
last time we talked was you had just had that anger spike and all that jazz. How's it been since then?
Better. Well, I met with the person who takes care of my mental health meds, and we upped the med. I take Paxil for my anxiety and depression. And after being on Zoloft for years, I feel like that's a much better medication. I'm on a much lower dose, and I feel like my moods are a lot more regulated now than they were before. I had my first panic attack this week, and that had me for 2 weeks.
Something like that. But we were just talking about how like you have to try different medications, find the right cocktail
Yeah.
for you because everybody's different. So for you,
Yeah.
maybe Paxil works. Maybe Zoloft wasn't the option.
Yeah. So there was that. We spent the last Saturday and the Saturday before that getting stuff out of the house that I grew up in Portsmouth. So the last time we talked, we had mentioned that that was a thing. The house is not being foreclosed on. The information that I was given was incorrect. So that's not a thing that's happening. I still am in the process of dealing with, getting all that organized, but that was not a thing. So just kind of updating there. So, and have we talked about K-pop Demon Hunters yet?
No, not
Okay.
really.
So I think the most recent media that we've watched together would probably been K-pop Demon Hunters.
I think we might have mentioned it briefly, but
Yeah, because we try and talk about the media that we've been we consume. And if you haven't watched it, it is absolutely fantastic. It's a song. I mean, it is, yes, definitely a musical movie, not in the same sense in the sense like a Disney movie as a musical movie. Um,
well, and the
Characters are pop stars, so the music makes sense.
yeah, you guys enjoyed that so much that you and our sister-in-law spent most of the day Sunday listening to the soundtrack on repeat
Yeah,
and like singing and bopping along. So
and it's been a while, and so that's like talking about, there is no timeline to grief and the recovery process of that. After my parents passed, I kind of have I don't want to say given up, but let go of certain things. Like I used to listen to music and sing along to the radio all the time, and Justin can attest to that. And I would sing to music around the house pretty much constantly. If music was playing and I knew the song, I was singing along to the lyrics. That was very much my dad. My mom could not carry a tune in a bucket. To be honest, the bucket she carried her music in was holy. She loved music, but
like me, she likes the music but can't really reproduce the music.
not vocally. She could play piano, and we played bells together and other things, but she could not sing. And my dad had a pretty good, decent voice. And I'm fair to middling. I wouldn't say I'm spectacular at all. However, I after my parents passed, that was something that I had stopped doing. And that was the first time in a long time that I found myself singing along to the music. And it was really nice to be able to have that back in a kind of fundamental way, like to the point where I've started listening to podcasts in the car. Shout out to Anatomy of a Murder. that's what because like I've talked about, my undergraduate is in criminal justice, and I really appreciate the way they approach things. So, not that we are sponsored by them or anything. That just happens to be the podcast that I'm listening to. Justin listens to Dear Hank and
Dear
John.
Hank and John, and Morning Somewhere, which are both kind of uh, just sort of. Dear Hank and John is a questions from the fans for Hank and John Green, the Vlog Brothers from YouTube fame. And then Morning Somewhere is Bernie Burns and Ashley Burns, who are from Rooster Teeth. And they just do a daily kind of news and stuff podcast.
They do a daily podcast.
Yeah, well, it's 5 days a week. So I'm when I started listening was January, and I was about a year behind at that point, and I am now up to June of this year. So I'm still slowly catching up.
So you're like 3 months behind as
Yeah,
opposed to being, 8 months behind.
yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
But um, but yeah, no, and like I don't know if I mentioned this last time, but I did like K-pop Demon Hunters a lot. It was a lot of fun. However, when we went over to that house, my sister-in-law's house, um, after about the third time through the soundtrack, I was like, I gotta go outside. But I didn't want to, But I did enjoy that you were actually like bopping along and having fun. And I think the free margaritas helped.
Yes. Here's a funny thing about my dad. My dad's drink of choice, mixed drink of choice, when he was not at like a dive bar, of sorts where it was beer and that was pretty much it. He would drink margaritas, and he liked, if we went to like say Outback, he would get the top shelf margarita, because it had Grand Marnier in it. Grand Marnier was his liquor of choice. He didn't. He would have it over ice cream, because it's a dessert liqueur, or have it, chilled or things like that. But Tammy, my brother and sister in law, not knowing that, made margaritas. Although Dad liked the standard lime margarita, we had berry or strawberry or mixed berry.
It was
Um,
mixed berry.
the first one was. The other two, I think, were strawberry. But um, had them that way. And so when I asked if it had Grand Marnier in it, Nate said yes. It's my brother-in-law. And I laughed and I asked Justin if he had told them. And he said, no, I didn't. So
I don't tell secrets without consent. We're gonna get into that.
yeah, that's actually a pretty good segue. Let me finish this story and then we'll follow up with that. But it's, I kind of love those little, what I call spirit nods. It's kind of like little ways that those memories get brought back up. Like I found a 50-cent piece that was the year that my dad graduated high school. Um, and he had kept it in his coin jar in the bedroom. Little things like that. Um, you know, those things that kind of make you think about the person who has passed on. Um, so the margaritas were kind of another way of him saying hi.
Now, um, moment. Now, so we're gonna use that as a segue. Today we want to talk about conversational consent and just consent in general.
Yeah.
Because, and we mean that in more than just like sexual consent, which obviously you should have.
Yeah, if it's not an enthusiastic yes, it's a no.
Enthusiastic and ongoing, yes, it's a no. Yeah. But we're also talking about like getting consent when you actually have a conversation with somebody, and like it goes beyond the bounds of a normal conversation, because like everybody has the normal hey how you doing kind of thing. We're talking about like hey, I want to ask some, like you usually say I want to ask a stupid question. What's my response to that?
Oh, you have yet to ask a stupid question.
There we go, because there are no stupid questions. um but and that is your way of getting consent to broach a topic that we had not yet been speaking about.
Yeah.
Or hey, can I say something? That kind of stuff. You always pose it in this like just of course you can say something, like that's you're never restricted from saying something, but like but you're asking for consent to say to go beyond the bounds of normal conversation.
Yeah, and it's
So
all
why do you do that?
so sometimes
Mm.
like the hey, can I ask a stupid question? Sometimes I feel legitimately like the thing I'm going to ask is a stupid question or something I should already know. Um then and he is right, there are no stupid questions. No, the only stupid question is the question you don't ask.
Now, if someone makes fun of you for asking a question that you earnestly are asking, that person's bad and they're doing a bad thing.
Yeah.
All right, like I say this as someone with an education major. Like if you ask a question, even if it is like in hindsight the most obvious question on the planet, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if everybody else knows something you don't. XKCD has a great comic about this. You can just Google XKCD, uh, today's 10,000. The idea that you know 10,000 ish people learn something new that everybody else thought was obvious every day, kind of thing. Um, and it's a thing that you should be celebrating because you're learning something. The idea that but sometimes people are, you're going to be, sometimes you're uncomfortable with it because very often I find that people who are uncomfortable asking questions have been ridiculed for asking questions before. Like usually, like you've been told, well, that was stupid, or you've been laughed at, or whatever. And so like the idea is, and that's why I keep telling Kristen every time. That's why I tell you every time. Not a stupid question. You may ask anything you like.
But part of it is also, asking if you have the conversational bandwidth for
Yeah,
something.
that's a different thing. You were just talking about that.
Yeah, so my friend and I have this thing that we do when both we she works for a nonprofit, and her job for that nonprofit is fundraising. So like she does a lot of grant writing. So she has a very high stress job. She also is married with two stepkids, and so her bandwidth or her ability to deal with outside stressors, um, and friendships are can be considered an outside stressor, is different than what mine is. So a lot of times we'll ask each other, hey, do you have the bandwidth or the emotional energy or the spoons, however you want to phrase it? And we have used all of those phrases in the past to have this discussion. And then we will also say, hey, do you want, and follow that with, after the story's been delivered, do you want support? Do you want me to commiserate? Or do you want tools? And sometimes it's legitimately you just want to commiserate. You just want to vent. You just need to offload that frustration. And you know what, like, honestly, you know what you need to do. You are just like, well, shit. I need to do XYZ. I know I need to do XYZ, but I don't want to do Y. Y is going to suck. Y is going to be frustrating. It's like, for example, me. I know I have to go get my depot shot. That's the birth control that I'm on because of it's the only thing that stops me from having periods.
A whole host of problems.
Yeah. Not bleeding is the big part of it. And it sucks. It's a very uncomfortable and painful shot. Like most shots are, but it burns. So I don't want to do it. I know that I could put it off. However, there is a whole host of things that come with putting it off. So sometimes I just want to commiserate about not wanting to go get the shot. I'm still going to go do it because I know I need to, but sometimes you just want to bitch. And that's what we're talking about in this situation. Like, do you want somebody to talk to? Do you want um so do you want support? Do you want a shoulder? What do you want out of the conversation? And those are typically the first two things we ask. Like, do you have the spoons? Do you have the energy? Do you have the bandwidth? And how do you want me to approach this situation?
Yeah. What you're doing is you're making a specific request
Mm-hmm.
for what you want to happen,
Mm-hmm.
and you're setting the boundaries of the conversation.
Yeah.
It's the same thing you need to do in any interaction. Like, so a lot of times those are implied, and sometimes and often the implied boundaries are okay. Those are within the normal social rules and settings. Talk about your day, how's it going. You don't. But if you're going to go beyond that, if you're going to change that, and it's going to be different for everybody,
Mm-hmm.
it's good to set boundaries. We talked
Yeah.
about this, and I think we mentioned this briefly when we talked about communication. But like in any relationship, like me and Kristen, we've been together 22 years.
It'll be 23 in October.
No, it won't. That's 2025.
Oh, you're correct.
22.
22.
Ha. Um.
Well, it's math. We know I'm bad at math.
Yeah.
It's one of the few stereotypical girl things that I do. That, and I don't do bugs, and I don't do dead things.
But the what was I just saying?
Communication.
Communication. Oh, yeah, we've been together 22 years. We still have to check in on boundaries and be like, hey, I got a thing I want to talk about. It's gonna be rough.
Yeah.
Or hey, I got a thing I want to talk. Are you okay to talk about something right now?
Yeah.
Even though generally I could probably read Kristen pretty well to know without it asking, I still like to ask because one, it can be wrong, and two, it lets her know I'm paying attention.
Yes. And honestly, there is something to be said for the consideration of an acknowledgement of having reinforced that, oh, these people genuinely care. So you can always tell when someone genuinely cares about you when in a couple of ways. One, if they fuss at you and in a genuine way, like, did you make it home okay? Text me when you get home. The mama question.
Not trying to control you, trying to check in on you. And
Yeah, I want to know you got home safe. Have you eaten? Um, those kinds of things. And the questions of, are you doing okay? Like that genuine, like we're talking about here, you know, acknowledging that they're in a tough situation and just being present. Um, you have to click on the screen.
she can stay standing. I mean, don't want to get marked AFK. And
Just click. Yeah, there you go.
ready?
Yeah.
You know what you were saying?
As I started with butt, didn't I?
Yeah.
Uh, Hold on. I saved a TikTok that would be appropriate to this. Give me a second. What is all over my screen? Do you need to go check your butt?
No.
Are you
Just
sure?
gas.
Here it is. I'm starting to realize one of the purest forms of love is consideration. When someone thinks about things would make you feel in any situation, how much they care about you is found in how much they consider you.
So it's but
Yeah.
about consider. You ready? You know what you can say?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1.
Husband. So I think one of the things to remember is consideration. So you can care about someone and show that you love them by being considerate of their needs, their wants, um, things that make them uncomfortable. And by asking questions and being considerate of them, like, do you just not coming in and being like, oh my God, I had the worst day. You should have been there and heard XYZ. Asking them, do you have the bandwidth to have this conversation with me? Even if it's just what coffee off, office gossip. Asking if somebody has the time or bandwidth can show that you have a lot of care and consideration for them. Um, and, making sure that you, even if it's something that you've done 1,000 times, checking in. You were saying,
Yeah, you like I have a bad memory and I forget things at random. So
that is
it's
true.
so
What you remember and what you don't remember
roll the
is,
dice every time.
yes, it is a roll of the dice, because you will remember things that I am legitimately surprised because they are like some offhanded, swirly, weird thing. But if I ask you, did the dogs go OUT? The
Mhm.
dogs are in the room with us, which is why I spelled that.
Mm.
Um, you'll be like, when did they last go?
Yeah, and it's so I try to make a habit out of constantly checking in about what we're doing, what they're doing, what I'm doing, what you're doing, why, that kind of stuff. And I know that can get frustrating sometimes, where I'm like, where you're like, I've explained this to you 5 times today.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
It was like
But
the other day when you knew you'd asked me the same question 3 times, and I was like, I'm gonna tickle you if you ask me this question again. For context, he is a giant ticklish spot. So, my threat to him is he's looking at the computer like, why are we spilling my private secrets here?
I'm gonna get randomly tickled in the street. No, it's but it's and like I said, one thing I always want to, because some people try to turn consideration, what they think, well, what they call consideration, into control. Where they're like, I'm just trying to look out for you, and they're trying to change your actions and that kind of stuff. Making legit suggestions about, hey, maybe you shouldn't, I don't know, stab yourself in the leg with a knife. That might be a bad idea. Versus, hey,
Maybe you should eat before you leave the house.
that, well, yeah, because you don't eat in the mornings, and I got to try to get you to do that. But
Because I need to be my own Tamagotchi and make sure I feed myself. And I say that sarcastically, but he's being 100% honest. I am very bad about not taking care of myself. And I probably would have just into oblivion to myself if it weren't for having people that needed me.
but also you have like growing up, you had your granny be like, hey, you don't need this, you don't need that, you don't need to eat that, you don't, you would look better if,
Mm.
and I'm sure Granny justified that to herself by saying she's acting in your best interest. What she's really trying to do is just control you.
Yeah.
And that's one of those, like, I want to give a warning against. Like, if you're going to make suggestions to someone, make them gently, assume that they're going to say no, and be okay with it.
And here's one of the things that I want to point out. And this is one of the things that Justin does, and we've had a conversation about this. Because I'm a very passive personality. Not like naturally, not and when I'm in and I joke about having two modes. I have me mode and then I have work mode. Work mode is a lot more assertive and much more um in control than my typical personality. And that is not to say I have anything like did. It's just when I am in work mode, I'm assuming a role, and that is different from who I am normally. And one of the things that Justin does, and this is a great way to show how he has a good way to demonstrate what he does to not show control, is I have on numerous occasions throughout our relationship, hey, how do I look in this? And he always says, you look fine. He never gives even constructive criticism because he understands how weak and shaky my self-esteem is.
Yeah, that's specific to Kristen
Yes.
because of the things she's got going on.
And he has
Also,
always,
she generally looks fine. Like she, fine, you never notice that some people are worried about how they look. They always look good. They very rarely like, hey, I'm wearing polka dots and stripes kind of nonsense. And if they are, they're doing it on purpose.
yeah. He never gives even constructive criticism because he's afraid that I will change how I'm dressing or what I'm doing to fit what I feel he wants. And that it's like my parents were like that to an extent. Like I found out when I had to pull all the color out of my hair and go back to blonde, that because I have fashion color in my hair. I like looking like a parrot, um, or a butterfly, or
Random cotton candy colors all over
yeah,
their head.
that my dad really didn't like them. However, he said he was never going to say anything because I liked them and didn't matter to him because it was my hair. And so I think that it's important to kind of remember that yes, everyone has an opinion and yes, everyone is entitled to it, but being considerate of other people's feelings too.
And you can ask, be like, hey, do you want like, do you want me to give real criticism, or do you want me to give like just
He wants
general
feedback.
criticism, or just,
Yeah.
what do you want from me in this situation?
Well, and I think, even when somebody like in conversations, when somebody's talking with you about a relationship scenario that they've been dealing with, thinking about it's like, okay, well, the common denominator in these scenarios are you, that, saying it that way is not necessarily constructive or supportive. So a reframe for that could be something like, okay, so it sounds kind of like you're struggling with some relationship stuff. Do you want support? Do you want,
Yeah, it's again, what do you want?
yeah,
It's the and you got to figure out how to ask it with every person because some people will take it differently.
yeah.
But
It's the same as if somebody says, hey, can you read over my resume? Can you read over this paper for class? There is a difference between giving, hey, these are typos versus this paragraph is trash. You need to change it. You know,
yeah, and so like, but yeah, it just comes back to be clear about what the other person wants, set boundaries, and stick to them.
because to be unclear is to be unkind.
Be unclear is to be unkind. To not get consent is always assault.
Yeah.
Right? Doesn't matter what's going on there. If you're not, if it's like a boxing ring. If one person doesn't want to be there, it's not boxing; it's an assault.
Yeah.
If that goes for conversations, that goes for every interaction you can possibly have with somebody.
Yeah, and I think it's important to remember too that at any time, whether it is physical conversation, anything like that, somebody can say, you know what, hey, I'm done and walk away. And you have to be okay with that too.
And yeah, no, there's nothing worse than like, and like I understand the feeling like you're sitting there having a conversation, and like you feel like you're doing good, you're winning, the other person's like fucking them out, and then you're just stuck, built, pent up and whiny. And you just got to deal with that. There's no such thing as conversational blue balls. There's no such thing as blue balls.
Yeah.
You just got to deal with that. You got to let that go, and hopefully, the other person comes back and is ready to go another time.
Yeah, and also be clear too, like, even if you don't feel like you said something that upset somebody, be like, hey, if something I said upset you, I'm sorry that I hurt your feelings or that something I said crossed a line.
I mean, was it was, and we'll figure it out.
Yes. Remind them that the concept of to be clear is to be unkind goes both ways. That they can't expect you to be understanding of their needs, wants, and um like expectations if they also cannot return that.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of take that into account. Like if you know that the conversation that you're having with somebody is going from a conversation to an argument and you don't want that to happen, remember what we talked about in the communication episode. Have a conversation safe word. Be okay to be like, hey, I want to continue this conversation, but I want to come back to it when we're both calm, and it is absolutely 110% okay to walk away from a conversation that is going from a conversation to an argument, and you don't want that to happen. We had a conversation, whatever, a month ago now, that we had to do that with. It's like, this is not going to, I think it had something to do with Superman. Um,
Oh yeah, we were having one of our nerd arguments.
because we don't argue about anything serious or that impacts our relationship or anything like that. We get our hackles up about stupid shit. Um, but I basically said, we are talking in circles. This conversation is not going anywhere. Both of us are upset. We need to calm down. That is not what I said in the moment. That was what I said right now is much more concise. I think I said we both need to walk away from this conversation before one of us gets pissed.
Something like that.
Something like that. But it is okay to tell people, hey, I need a break from this conversation. Um, I need time to breathe. I need a breather,
And it's okay to expect to be respected.
Yes. And if you get up and leave the room and they follow you, it's okay to keep leaving.
Yeah, no, that's a one of those control moments.
Mm-hmm.
That's them disrespecting your autonomy in every manner and every level. Don't tolerate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you said, Kristen said, just keep leaving.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of leaving, we are at that 30-minute mark.
We
So
try
final
and keep
thought.
them between 30 and 45 minutes for you guys because we understand that longer episodes can be hard to sit through in one sitting.
Final thoughts.
Um, be open and honest with people when you're having communication. You will open and honest communication is one of the most beneficial things that you can have.
It's also fairly difficult for most people have a lot of trouble with it. I have trouble with it. Kristen has trouble with it.
Mm-hmm. Because we all kind of want, we don't want to hurt anybody. We want people to like us. We want to have that level of respect, and the best way to do that is to feel like we have to walk that line of biting our tongue versus saying what we want to say. um I also always go back to what Thumper's mother said. If you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. There is
I disagree with that. We'll have to have a conversation about that. I
I
disagree
will.
with that.
I follow that up with, yes. To be unclear is to be unkind, but you do not have to be cruel in order to deliver what you need. And I think some people, there, it's like that. The
If you have to resort to verbal violence, it's the same as having to resort to physical violence. Like that means lines have been crossed and you're not going back anytime soon.
And if your honest statement has to be followed with a but, it's not an honest statement.
Yeah. That's another conversation we need to have. Okay. Any other final thoughts?
Just
Okay.
just be open and safe with those who are around you.
Yeah, be like if you don't feel like you can ask for consent, that's a red flag. Like
That
if
is a
you
red flag the size of
Texas.
Texas. I was gonna say Canada, but I felt like that was a little bit of an overguesstimation.
No,
Although,
no, that's a giant red flag.
yeah.
That's a problem. Um,
And if you don't feel like your boundaries are being respected either, that's also a giant red flag.
yeah, you need to be able to you need to be able to ask for consent, set boundaries, and have them respected. And you need to be able to respect their boundaries.
Yeah.
This goes both ways, 100%.
Yep.
So like in you have to learn to be generous and gracious and merciful. What's the um don't assume maliciousness when stupidity or ignorance will
Yeah.
explain is a better explainer.
Or lack of education. I
Yeah,
think lack of education needs to be added to that statement as well.
ignorance. That's what it means. That's what.
So for me, we've had this conversation before. For me, ignorance also includes willful
Willful ignorance
ignorance.
is stupidity. That is how I define stupidity. If you have chosen, If you
Fair.
know better and have chosen not to, or if you have chosen not to know better, that is when you've done stupidity. And so yet stupidity is a choice. It's not a state of being. Ignorance is a state of being because everybody's ignorant about most things. Like I'm a smart dude most of the time, and I'm ignorant about most of the stuff. Like whenever people talk, I have to accept that I'm stupid or not stupid. I'm accept that I'm ignorant, accept and let other people have their be smarter than me.
Mhm.
And that's part of that setting that boundaries thing. Like
That
let other people
teach you.
let other people teach you. Let other people show you the way. And if they're not willing to let you teach them, that's a red flag. It has to
Yeah.
go both ways. Okay. Um, so as always, if you have any questions, email us at cloudy with a chance therapy, no of, at gmail.com, and we will look into it. And otherwise, we will hopefully be back next week on our regular schedule.
Yep.
Um,
I'm Kristen.
I'm Justin, and we love you all. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.